always do that.
Uh-huh.
I'm a night rider. Every time that I go up past midnight, I swear I get higher. Swear I gotta get higher now.
What a
I'm a night
sound.
rider. Every time that I give what I got, I supply that fire.
You what?
I supply that fire, man. I'm a night rider. Every time that I go up past midnight, I swear I get higher. Swear I gotta get higher now. I'm a night rider.
You are, and I am too. Welcome back, bookworms, to another episode of Bookmarks with Bump. And it's a special edition of the podcast. This is Thanksgiving weekend. Thanksgiving has just passed. Now, when it comes to the time of you listening to this, I believe it's December 2nd when this comes out. We have made it all the way to December. We started this in June, and here we are 23 weeks later. What a long and winding journey it has been. Thank you to everybody who's listened to every single episode. I know there are a few of you out there, and I appreciate you very much. Welcome to all the new subscribers. They keep coming in abundance. It's awesome to see on the YouTube, the Spotify, the Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music. The numbers are building and bubbling and yodeling up and to the right, and I'm so very appreciative of each and every one of you bookworms who takes the time out of your day to let me take some time away from your day. Also, often we listen to or take in content that doesn't really provide much of any substance to us throughout the day. Sometimes you'll hear a song in your playlist that really hits you in a certain spot, and that is a moving section. That is a motivating or an energizing section. And more often than not, that's what I try to bring on this podcast, is something to inspire, motivate, and help you dig a little bit deeper into your inner workings. And I do so through the form of threads on Twitter, more often than not. Sometimes I'll pull from somewhere else, and that's exactly what we're doing today. Like I said, it's a very special edition. We have Thanksgiving traditions upon us, and I wanted to focus on a little bit of a tradition here. One of my favorite podcasts that I listen to is The Tim Dillon Show. Tim Dillon is known for his stand-up comedy, but more often than not, he's known for his provocative humor based in the field of politics or social commentary as a whole. I am a big fan of Tim Dillon. I love listening to him ranting and raving. And this past week on his podcast, he went in a little bit on something that I feel like I could touch on as well. And it kind of rolls into what I've been practicing in life as of late. I have developed a certain set of rules that have helped me stay more productive with my off time. And even in my respite time, even in my resting time, I still have found an ability to stay away from social media. And that certain set of rules is: don't open it unless you get a message. Don't open it unless you have something to post. And don't open the scroll. And those are pretty much the 3 rules to success of staying away from social media, if that's something that you want to focus on in your life. One thing that may want to keep us away from social media is kind of the echo chamber or the solitude or isolation that could happen from just spending your whole day on the internet. Anywho, Tim Dillon got into this rant, and I will actually quote it word for word. And also in the description, there will be a link to the podcast where you could find him say this for himself. And real quick, if you're listening to me and you're not listening to the Tim Dillon Show, you're doing podcasting wrong. But I appreciate you listening to me anyway. He started this by talking about a social movement that's happening in Korea currently. The 4 Bs are no marriage, no dating, no birthing, and no sex. Yeah. I mean, in America, we just call this we call it radical feminism or whatever. But in America, we basically there are examples of this, but in America, it's all about career. So it's about prioritizing career. And by the way, men too. America is such a money-obsessed, status-obsessed culture that people are told to prioritize their career and their financial well-being. And women are being told this. Women are now being told that years ago they weren't, but they are being told to prioritize financial well-being and career success over more traditional, perhaps arguably, in my estimation, more meaningful relationships with family and community. But we have de-emphasized the idea of family and community as roots to happiness, and we have elevated status and wealth as the roots to happiness. All of our reality shows are primarily about people that are rich or who are getting richer. They're not about people that live in a community that enjoy it. They're not about people that have lasting and meaningful social bonds. That doesn't make anyone any money. And this is something that struck home with me, honestly, because I've focused the last few years on my goals and my career, and that's not really where I find my fulfillment. I find my fulfillment spending time with friends, spending time with my little brother, spending time with loved ones. This weekend, I had the privilege to go and see the Notre Dame and Army game that was held in Yankee Stadium as part of their Shamrock series. This was something that was very special to me, not just because I got to go watch a football game in real time, but because I got invited by friends, and I got to spend time with people that I don't really get to spend a lot of time with. Why? Because we're spending all of our time working. Right now, I'm in a busy period at my job, and we are working a massive amount of hours. I'm working almost 60 hours a week right now, trying to accomplish the apprenticeship that I'm under. And there are benefits and there are detractors from this, right? So pretty much all of my time now is spent between work, run, gym. All of those things are fulfilling. All of those things give back to me. But my run is much more fulfilling than my job, and so is lifting weights. These are the things that really put gas in my engine. These are the things that help me go, the things that help me move, that help me become a better version of me. And I think self-improvement is one selfish thing that we can put ahead of our financial gain, because it doesn't matter how much money you make if your body is failing you. It doesn't matter how much money you have in the bank if you're dead. None of that's going to matter at the end of the day. What's going to matter is the impact that you leave behind on people, the impression that you leave on people, the message that you live your life with. I think those are the things that really should require a lot more focus than just our careers. Our careers are something that we spend 40 to 60 hours a week on. There is still a lot of time left once that time is fleeting. Oftentimes we spend a lot of time preparing for that time. Oftentimes we spend too much time thinking about that time, getting to that time. Let's leave that time there and use it as a resource to build what we want our lives to be. I want my life to be full of love. I want my life to be full of joy. I want my life to be full of accomplishment and success. And where I really feel accomplishment and success are mostly the things that I do outside of my job. If I have a good round of golf with my friends, that's something that really helps me feel accomplished throughout the day. If I'm able to help a friend when they call and they're in need, that's something that really helps me throughout the day. Maybe I'm in the wrong field of work, but nothing I've ever done at work has really carried that weight throughout the rest of the day as much as helping somebody has. I oftentimes equate when I bust through the wall at work and have an aha moment and have a breakthrough and I'm able to accomplish something that I had really been trying for a while to get done. I equate it to a touchdown or a 3-point shot. There is always some sort of celebration out of me. And I think that's more of what my job is to me than my job actually is. I think that's just me. That's my personality coming out through the job. But those are the things that, and I relate to Tim here. I think that meaningful connections, family, and listen, you can have a career on your own. That's great, but you can't have a happy life on your own. And if you can, you're a certain set of person that I won't say you're a serial killer or a sociopath. I won't say anything disparaging. And it's possible to lead a happy life all by yourself, but I think we all need a sense of community. There is a reason why they said that it took a village, and it takes a village. Because we all need a pat on the back, some support, and somebody around us to help lift one another up from time to time. I truly believe that. I've always subscribed to that. I will always subscribe to that. And I'll always be looking for people who feel the same way. And as I stated before, I had some of those people reach out to me this Saturday. I was out there playing around the golf with my buddy after work. And, I had plans to go and do some shopping here. I'm doing some living quarters shopping at the time currently. And I've put in for quite a few humble abodes. And hopefully I'll be moving into one soon. But what I have here was an invite. Hey, you have 10 minutes to say yes to a free Notre Dame ticket. Okay. How am I going to say no to that? Is not a thought that went through my head. My first thought was, when the hell do we got to get out of here? Because I still got 9 holes left. Nonetheless, what a trip that was. We hopped on the train in Stamford and made our way out to New York City. It's been a very long time since I went on that New York City train. It drops you off right at Yankee Stadium. And Yankee Stadium needs to get their act together here because it took us about 2 hours to even get inside of the venue. Oh, not to mention, my friends and I got split up. You're out there with probably 40,000 other people trying to get into one gate. And, I'm looking for the beginning of the line. And they're just kind of, I guess, moseying through, trying to find a way to sneak into the line. There was a lot of, hey, I'm walking here, what are you doing's going on, and I wasn't really one for the riffraff. I was just trying to have a good old time. So here I am trying to mosey my way to the end of the line and figure out where we're going to stand to get our way through. I look back, and everybody's gone. And of course, it's loud. You can't yell out to anybody. Apparently, they were yelling to me. I couldn't hear them, and we got split up. Somehow I made it to our seats first, and when we reunited, it was a really electrifying moment when we all found each other up at the bottom of our stand, like, oh, we made it. So we sat down and just watched a complete drubbing. I mean, it's interesting going into this game. Army was undefeated. Notre Dame had a 9-1 record, and you kind of had a feeling that one team was definitely outmatched here. The Army's greatest feat is that their quarterback is a 1,000-yard rusher this year. Well, the guy went 4 for 8 and threw 26 yards. And even when they went down 14-0, even when they were down 28-7, they just did not go away from the run game, and it did not help their momentum at all. They got trounced 49-14, and some people would say that's a blowout. That's a boring game to watch. It was electrifying. I mean, Notre Dame put up 2 touchdowns in every quarter except the last one. Riley Leonard threw for 148 yards and 2 touchdowns. The first one being one to the tight end, where it was like a 46-yard touchdown reception after a long run. Notre Dame took a page out of Army's book. Army ran for 207 yards, but Notre Dame ran for 275. They have this guy on their team, Jeremiah Love, number 4, and he went for 7 carries and 130 yards. It just seemed like every play somebody was breaking through the line. Aeneas Williams went for 58 on a touchdown run. Jadarian Price went for 10 carries, 53 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And it was just one of those games where one team definitely should not have been playing the other. I hope that Notre Dame made a very generous and valuable donation to the Army program and our United States government for being able to trot these soldiers out there and treat them like a bunch of whipping boys. But it doesn't look like Army's going to make it into the college football playoff this year, and that's unfortunate. I've been to a few UConn Husky football games, but nothing was I haven't been to a football game like this before. I mean, the energy was palpable. The fans were crazy, and when a touchdown was scored, the place went absolutely nuts. I jumped out of my seat probably 8 times throughout the course of this game, and going with my friends was a great time. I mean, we all just thrived off of each other's energy, and we kept the energy going. It was you had to be there. What a time to be alive. So we talked about tradition, right? And we talked about what Tim Dillon was talking about, how we're kind of becoming this monolithic, solitary, money-focused society, which when I stopped caring about money in my life is when I started to make the most money I ever have. And that's no BS. That's the honest truth. Like, I fell into an opportunity. I took a job at the company that I work for at a very low rate, at an entry level job. I saw an opportunity and I took it, and I just said, hey, whatever happens, happens. But I'm told this could be a career. And if it's a career, then I guess that's something that I need, and a trade that I could always fall back on if everything else that I'm doing doesn't really work out. And it's not like I'm doing anything for a bunch of monetary gain anyway. I mean, I know it would take quite a bit for this podcast to reach a point where I'm making ad revenue on it. Um, Honestly, on Spotify, I need 100 subscribers. So I need about all 15 of you guys to find 85 of your buddies, grab their phones, unlock them, and subscribe to Bookmarks with Bump, so I can make that happen. But if it doesn't, that's okay, because I'm on here just kind of using this platform to get my message across. And as always stated, I will state again, my message is just second chances are real. And if you have one, be grateful for it, and don't forget who you were before you got a second chance, because that should be your biggest motivating factor. I've had a second chance in life here, and I've took off running with it, no pun intended. Quite literally, running is the thing that has saved my life completely, and I'll always hang my hat on that. But let's get into some hard truths about life, and sort of some characteristics that I believe that I could hold on to, and also some of the traits that I think make me who I am today. Library Path, a great follow on Twitter. They always post a lot of motivating and encouraging stuff. They have this thread, 15 Hard Truths of Psychology and Life. And we'll start with number 1. No one is more hated than he who speaks the truth. As much as this is true, it's sad. Some people know, right, what the truth is, but they're kind of afraid to talk about it. They're afraid to let it be what's real. But the fact of the matter is, if you don't know, or if you hide from the truth, it's just going to come back to get you anyway. You just kind of have to be straight up with yourself and hold yourself accountable here. Um, the more accountable you are, the better you will become, the more you will grow. Day by day, they say 1% better, right? 1% better each day. The only way to truly get 1% better is to be honest and accountable. Number 2, if it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. Self-explanatory. Number 3, it's unfortunate that this has happened. No, it's fortunate that this has happened and I've remained unharmed. Think about that when you're catastrophizing, or when you tell yourself, oh, I can't live like this. When you tell yourself, how could this happen to me? Take a look around, look at your surroundings, and look at yourself. If you're okay, you have a chance. Number 4, it never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own. Now, I don't know if we all love ourselves more than we love other people. There are a lot of lovers out there, but the fact of the matter is, we care about other we care about other people's opinions far more than we care about ourselves. And I think a lot of us are just looking to be accepted. But accepted into what? You have to accept yourself. This is actually ties into what we were talking about in church on Sunday. And this is important. And this is kind of just, our foundation is it shouldn't be built on societal foundation, right? What we were talking about going through the second book of Timothy is that we should live to fill our spirit and to live a life accepted by the Lord. You do not have to be accepted by society, because everything will come and go in a form of attack, threat, deception, but all will be lost. All will be lost except the foundation of God, which is immovable. All who are saved by Jesus are saved forever. Jesus is the one true foundation, and if you live your life built on the foundation of Jesus Christ, regardless of the challenges you face, you will stand tall and you will not lose. That was very poignant to me, poignant enough for me to write it down and keep it in my notes, and I'm happy that I had the opportunity to share it here today. Number 5, no man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself. Believe that. 6, devote the rest of your life to making progress. 7, while we are postponing, life speeds by. Procrastination is such an enemy to the human soul, to your desires, to your goals. Procrastination is the biggest deterrent. Number 8, happy is the man who can make others better, not merely when he is in their company, but even when he is in their thoughts. Be that guy. Be that guy who puts a smile on people's face. Don't worry about what's going on with you. Focus on around you. Focus on the people around you. What can you do for them? Nothing is more fulfilling than doing for other people. Number 9, the day a man becomes superior to pleasure, he will also be superior to pain. How many things are we thinking about that we just do as a pleasure benefit? How much do we truly sacrifice for ourselves? You know, running is something that can bring me pleasure sometimes. When I'm training hard for a race, sometimes there's some pain there. But when I succeed, that's when I really feel the pleasure. And I did that from sacrificing pleasure, sacrificing good eating, sacrificing staying up late at night, sacrificing going out sometimes to just put myself through a little bit more suffering early in the morning. It all equates to pleasure eventually. Number 10, difficulty strengthen the mind as labor does the body. Critical thinking. Use it or lose it. Our brains are a muscle. Number 11, it is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that things are difficult. Who wants an easy ride? I sure as hell don't. Number 12, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Think about that. What you're using to procrastinate takes over what you're procrastinating about. 13. Your mind will take the shape of what you frequently hold in thought, for the human spirit is colored by such impressions. We are what we think we are. Bruce Lee said, you can't tell yourself negative things about yourselves because words cast spells. We'll slowly start to believe these things. Is that what we should be doing? I don't think so. 14. Bitter are the roots of study, but how sweet their fruit. Sitting down and diving into something can be such a difficult task. Learning something new, getting a hobby where you're trying to be creative and trying to learn how to work your way through this can be very, very difficult. However, once you break through, once you succeed, and you do all that you've wanted to do in that, you feel the success. You feel the sweetness of the fruit. You get to taste that fruit that it's the seeds that you sow, right? And you sow these seeds through difficult tasks, but when you finally get a chance to taste that fruit, how sweet is it? Number 15, consider in silence whatever anyone says. Speech both conceals and reveals the inner soul of the man. Don't respond right away to things. Take a moment. Breathe it in. Understand what this person is trying to say to you. This is more about being less reactive. In the moment, when something strikes you, you can answer quick. But is that answer exactly what you want it to be? You know, is that going to be helpful or harmful to what you're trying to succeed in? You have to take your time. Don't react right away. React once you've thought about it. I've got some reactions, though.
Here we go! Buck, here we go! Here we go! Here we go! Here we go! Yeah, here we go!
Yeah, here we go. What a week of NFL it was, with Cleveland beating Pittsburgh in the snow in a game that now has a name, the Snow Globe game. And that second half was just, it was mesmerizing to watch. If you could watch it, you could barely see anything. But Jameis Winston is electrifying. Tua Tagovailoa embarrasses the Patriots yet again. The Bears somehow retain an onside kick, score, and force OT against the best defense in the league. They lose. Cowboys would return kicks in a special game, and Cavante Turpin has the second best spin move of the year. A 24-17 fourth quarter helped seal the deal for the Cowboys, pulling off the upset against the Commanders. Bryce Young, he's pretty good, throwing dimes all over the field, but Patrick Mahomes can still lead a game-winning drive, and does in a surprising one-possession game over the Panthers. What else? What else happened? Let's see. CJ Stroud is being labeled as a fraud when he's having a terrible offensive line showing this year. I don't think running out of the back of the end zone should classify you as a fraud right away. I think we need a couple more years to see who Stroud really is. Nonetheless, Will Levis lathered himself up in mayo after the Titans upset the Texans and keep the Colts' hope alive. Oh, wait, they played the Lions, and they win the regular season. Baker Mayfield is the GOAT of petty, throwing up his capiche hands in Tommy DeVito's face. Bo Nix has a ton of balls going at Max Crosby. Nonetheless, the 49ers played 100 games in the last 3 seasons, didn't bring home a Lombardi, but sacrificed the health of their players. Christian McCaffrey has no legs. Nick Bosa has no obliques. Brock Purdy doesn't have a shoulder anymore. But now they can't beat the Packers anymore, which was like the hat that they hung all their achievements on. Well, they can't beat the Packers, but Kyler Murray can't play in Seattle, and Geno Smith is caught in this weird purgatory of either having a terrible game or a game where he shines. Saquon goes silly yet again, 300-plus yards from scrimmage, including a night where he ran for 255 yards in a 37-20 win over the Los Angeles Rams. And last night, another Bird team beat another LA team in SoFi Stadium, which is fitting because building that stadium killed a lot of birds, apparently. And Lamar would find the end zone, and John Harbaugh wins the Harbaugh Bowl. What a game that was. Okay, so we have the Harbaugh Bowl with John and Jim Harbaugh, brothers, who have played in the Super Bowl against each other before when Jim Harbaugh was coaching the 49ers. John Harbaugh seems to be undefeated against this older brother of his. He might have got his butt kicked a lot growing up. Not anymore. So shout out to John Harbaugh for sticking up for little brothers all around the world and kind of proving that it's not over until the fat lady's singing. Apparently both these guys are still coaching in the NFL, so we'll see. We'll see if these guys make it to the playoffs. This had a lot of playoff contentions in this game, actually. So for Baltimore to pull it off and still remain on top is a big game for them. We had Atlanta Falcons, Buffalo Bills, Cincinnati Bengals, New Orleans Saints, New York Jets, and Jacksonville Jaguars on bye. So we got blessed with not having to watch a lot of terrible football. And actually, it was one of the more exciting 1 p.m. slates that I could ever remember. Jordan Addison going for 162 yards against the Bears, but Caleb Williams had a bounce-back game against what is being touted as one of the toughest defenses in the league in the Minnesota Vikings, where he threw for 340 yards. Jared Goff would throw for 269 in a 24-6 win over Indy. Tua Tagovailoa threw for 317 against the New England Patriots, and that was really a blowout. We didn't score our 15 points till late in the game. It looked like that game was going to end 31-0. Devon Achane didn't rush for much, but neither did anybody else. Jalen Waddle steps up and has a huge game, leaving the question, where's Tyreek Hill? Oh, he was in the end zone, nice and early. Baker Mayfield made an amazing block for Bucky Irving. I mean, Baker Mayfield, when he plays, if you wonder if football was a man, who would it be? The answer is Baker Mayfield. 100%. Patrick Mahomes throws for 269 yards, but Kansas City and Carolina went down to the last play of the game. Kansas City won 30-27 in a game they were favored by 10.5 points. Bryce Young threw for 21 completions, 263 yards, and a touchdown, no interceptions, and he's been playing absolutely phenomenal since he came back into the starting role with Andy Dalton going down. So I'd love to see a good bounce back story, especially from a young gun who was just kind of shat upon all year. Dallas wins 34-26 against Washington. Jaden Daniels throws for 275 yards in a losing performance. Will Levis throws for 278, and Calvin Ridley almost has another 100-yard game. Tony Pollard would rush for 119 yards. But the biggest game of all belonged to the Philadelphia Eagles, who are making their name as Super Bowl contenders. What I think we're looking at here is another Ravens and Chiefs AFC championship to determine who will be going into the Super Bowl against the Eagles and the Ravens. See, this point last year, the Eagles were starting to hit a little bit of a fall off. But what I've noticed that they're doing is they're giving their players time off when they're just a little bit hurt. Dallas Goedert had a couple weeks off. A.J. Brown had a couple weeks off. What's his face? Devontae Smith. Devontae Smith just had a week off with a hamstring injury, but they all come back and perform better than ever. A.J. Brown had 6 receptions for 109 yards. But he was topped by Puka Nacua, who had an amazing diving grab throughout that game, and he also had 13 targets, 9 receptions, and 117 yards. But let's talk about Saquon Barkley for a second, because this guy is making his case, and everybody is also making their case as to why he should be the MVP in a quarterback-driven league. He's completely turned this Eagles team around from where they were last year, and he had 255 yards rushing, but he also went for 47 through the air, which is amazing. He has 257 receiving yards so far on the season, and like I said, we're going to get into some of the league leaders as far as stats go right now. So we'll go passing yards per game, gross passing yards. Yeah, these are disgusting. Check out this top 5 here, and this might surprise you a little bit. Number 1 is Lamar Jackson. Not much of a surprise at all. Last year's MVP. Even with Derrick Henry in the backfield, they're not running the ball 30 times a game. Lamar Jackson has been able to air it out to all of his receivers. Rashad Bateman benefited from that last night, catching an absolute bomb before halftime to go up in that game. Then you have Geno Smith from the Seahawks. 3,035 yards so far. Joe Burrow of the Bengals has 3,028. He's still in number 3, even after coming off of a bye. C.J. Stroud, 2,875, and Kirk Cousins, 2,807. Followed closely behind by Baker Mayfield and Matt Stafford, who both have 2,800 yards so far. Jared Goff finds himself in the top 10, as well as Patrick Mahomes and Sam Darnold. It's interesting to see Patrick Mahomes at the bottom of this list. With the bevy of weapons around him, he's still not really on the same page with everybody. So we'll go to rushing yards. Who's at the top of the league? Saquon freaking Barkley. He's got a almost 70-yard advantage over Derrick Henry as it stands right now. The biggest surprise, and not really a surprise to me, the surprise comes in with them letting this man walk. Josh Jacobs, 944 yards on the season. He's in 3rd place, playing for the Green Bay Packers, and that's perfect for them because they traded out Aaron Jones for Josh Jacobs, somewhat of a bigger, bruisier type of back. He doesn't catch as many balls out of the backfield as Aaron Jones does, so he's not as solid as a weapon, but they have so many weapons in the receiving corps that they don't really necessarily need a guy like Josh Jacobs when they have somebody like Tucker Kraft who they can keep close to the line, and he's actually a bigger target for Jordan Love to find. Speaking of Tucker Kraft, he's kind of breaking out as of late. Tucker Kraft, the young tight end in his 2nd year, had 2 receptions for 26 yards and a touchdown in this game against the 49ers. But as of this season, he has 30 receptions for 402 yards and 6 touchdowns, which is, as far as tight ends go, this is a great showing for that position. They're oftentimes used as an extra lineman. They're oftentimes used as a bigger target where you're able to find the ball. But for him to be able to do what he's doing for that Packers team is huge because they always use tight ends. So we'll look at 1st place to 10th place, and here's the disparaging, the difference here. It's about 500 yards. Actually, it's 600. 609 yards separates Bijan Robinson of the Atlanta Falcons and Saquon Barkley. and almost 70 yards separates Saquon from Derrick Henry. Which kind of, we could probably wrap this up now if that's the case. The Ravens pull Derrick Henry out on a lot of third down situations. Even last night when he had a drive where he had 3 rushes, each totaling over 10 yards. The first of which being a 16-yard rush that really helped them gain a lot of momentum. They would get down the field in quite a hurry, and Lamar Jackson would hit his patented step back to get into the end zone, just like he did in high school. An amazing thing to see, just that kind of uncanny confidence in your own body's ability. Shout out to him and what he's doing here. We'll go into our receiving leaders. Jamar Chase leading the pack. He has about 120-yard lead over Justin Jefferson, who's being held to 939 yards so far this season. CeeDee Lamb is in third, and that makes a lot of sense because this guy gets about 15 to 20 targets in a game. Nobody is more targeted than CeeDee Lamb. You have Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Terry McLaurin out of the Washington Commanders. Another great feel-good story. Just this guy who's been through a revolving door of quarterbacks, failure after failure, to be where he is now and reaping the benefit of that success is awesome to see. And hopefully the Commanders can find a way to bounce back and be the team that they were earlier in the season and fight for that NFC East title. I don't think that they'll take it from the Eagles, but I think if they finish well enough, they could have a shot in the playoffs. And then at fifth, you have Zay Flowers, the second-year receiver out of the Baltimore Ravens, which is so interesting to see because he has 100-yard game after 100-yard game after 100-yard game after 11-yard game. After 100-yard game after 100-yard game after 100-yard game after 40-yard game. So it's not like he's an integral part of their offensive game plan, and I think that's what the Ravens do. They use more of formation and scheme than players in order to get their guys open and basically put points on the board. They don't care if you're a superstar. They don't care who you are, what your name is, how many jerseys you sell. They just want to see people hit the end zone. Just like Justice Hill last night. Derrick Henry ran for 140 yards on 24 carries, but he did not see the end zone. Justice Hill did late in the game. He found a 51-yard touchdown to go up 30 to 17 at that time, and 30 to 16, I'm sorry, and the Chargers just could not bounce back from the 14-point deficit, and they would lose that game 30 to 23. Chargers fall to 7-4 as the Ravens advance to 8-4 and kind of spread themselves out a little bit more in this playoff race. So interesting to see there. You have a two-way tie at number 10. Cortland Sutton of the Broncos and Brock Bowers of the Raiders both have 744 yards on this season. Brock Bowers, rookie tight end out of Georgia. He's living up to all of the expectations that anybody had placed on him, so that's great to see. We're coming on a Sunday, as we always do, but let's talk about what happened on Thursday, as if I saw what happened on Thursday and can tell you. We have a 10-point favorite, Detroit Lions, taking on the Chicago Bears at home at 12:30, and that's how our Thanksgiving will kick off. Check out this disparity. The tickets start as low as $181 at Ford Field. The next game is the Garbage Bowl. Between Cooper Rush and Tommy DeVito, two backup quarterbacks take the helm of two standout franchises, the Dallas Cowboys and the New York Giants, who are both in a pit of despair and not who the schedule makers thought these teams would be when it was all set up for us. So the Cowboys and New York Giants still have that 4:30 prime time spot on Fox, and I think that would be the nap game. Dallas is favored by 3.5 in that game, over a field goal, so that's a tricky line to take there. The Green Bay Packers take on the Miami Dolphins to cap Thanksgiving evening. The Green Bay Packers 3.5 point favorites with a kind of a I want to say a little bit of a hot Miami Dolphins coming into this game here, coming off of 3 straight wins, 34-19 to the Raiders, 34-15 to the Patriots, 23-15 to the Rams. So they're holding their opponents to around 17.5 points while also putting up 30 points per game. They're in a hot stretch right now, and they're going to want to continue that moving forward with if they want any chance to get into the postseason. With 5 games left on their schedule, well, 6 games, sorry. With 6 games left on their schedule, they're probably going to want to win out in order to make it into the playoffs this year. So only time will tell if that will happen, and can't wait to get back to you next week and see what all the fuss was about. We now have a tradition of a Black Friday game every year. And luckily for us, we have a divisional matchup against a team that's hot off a loss, the Las Vegas Raiders, who are kind of itching and ready to go at the Kansas City Chiefs at Arrowhead Stadium. The Raiders took on the Chiefs earlier this season and lost by a touchdown, so we could see what they could figure out from that game. Will the Chiefs get back into form after kind of a weird game? I mean, that was just a weird game for the Panthers to be able to contend the way they did. Bryce Young was putting balls in places they didn't really think they would, which is tough because the Chiefs play such a tough and strong defense, but they got after Patrick Mahomes, hitting him 5 times, and I think the Raiders are another team that are equipped to do that with Christian Wilkins and Max Crosby coming off the sides of that defensive line. Throughout the rest of the week, New England takes on Indianapolis. That's really nothing to scoff at, but we have divisional matchups with Cincinnati taking on Pittsburgh. This is going to be another test for Pittsburgh. Cincinnati are 3-point favorites taking on Pittsburgh in Paycor Stadium in Cincinnati. We also have Houston taking on Jacksonville in another AFC South division matchup. Chance for Houston to bounce back after their loss to the Titans. We have Tampa Bay taking on Carolina at home. Carolina probably feeling pretty good after losing just by a field goal to the best team in the league. Let's see how they could handle the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are really fighting here. They've had 3 years in a row where they've won the NFC South, so they're really vying to keep that position moving forward. The game of the week at 4:25 on CBS this Sunday will be the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Baltimore Ravens. That'll be exciting. And then you have Buffalo taking on San Francisco for Sunday Night Football. Monday Night Football is an iffy matchup. This game could really be anything, with the Broncos taking on the Browns. The Browns proved last week that they can put up points in any type of climate. Let's see what the Broncos can do, because they're coming. They have hot heads. Bo Nix was just talking a whole bunch of trash against the Raiders last week, and he was putting up numbers, as he has been all year. 273 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's rushing for another 5 yards on the ground. He's not afraid to tuck it and run, but he's finding Cortland Sutton. Cortland Sutton had a huge game. He caught 8 of his 10 targets for 97 yards and 2 touchdowns. Cortland Sutton proven to be a number 1, taking over Jerry Jeudy's spot very well, which he took over before Jerry Jeudy even left and went to the Browns, where he's having a great year now that Jameis Winston has been in. Keep watching for Jerry Jeudy to keep exploding. He's had 2 touchdowns in the last few games and 645 yards so far on the season. So that's something to look out for. And another thing to look out for is the next episode of Bookmarks with Bump. Probably coming to you next Sunday, as they always do. But one way to stay informed and on top of that is by subscribing or following along on social media at Bumpy Bet Slips, at TCGXBump on Instagram. You can find me there. You could also find me on Apple Music, Spotify Podcast, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and YouTube at Bookmarks with Bump. Subscribe, like, leave a rating, leave a review. Leave some love for me, because as always, it's all love for you. God bless, and happy Thanksgiving. Thanks for listening to Bookmarks with Bump.
Started at the dirt. I've been riding, wave like I surf. I've been leaning in and out of work. I could show you what it's worth. money to the ceiling. I started at the door. I'm a night rider. Every time that I go up past midnight, I swear I get higher. Swear to God I get higher now. I'm a night rider. Every time that I give what I got, I supply that fire. I supply that fire, man. I'm a night rider. Every time that I go up past midnight, I swear I get higher. Swear to God I get higher now. I'm a night rider. Every time that I go up past midnight, I swear I get higher. Swear to God I get higher, man.